Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. George Liddard scores what is kind of a facile win over a rather embarrassing opponent called Omar Ilunga. This guy is from, I think he's from Columbian originally, lives in Italy and has fought an awful lot in Italy. But this guy came in with a 29 wins, 16 KOs. God knows who he's been fighting. 2 defeats and 1 draw. So he's never been stopped. And he lasted about a minute and a half against Liddard, who moved to 10 wins, no draws, no defeats. Liddard is 22 years old. Ilunga is 40. So he was fighting a guy. Liddard was fighting a guy who was old enough to be his father, and the guy fought like he was old enough to be his great-grandfather. Ilunga was just terrible. I don't think he even landed a punch, to be honest with you. The fight began within 20 seconds. Ilunga was on the floor. There was a left hand and it was a chopping right, a sort of swooping, I don't know what it was, sort of hook come cross, landed on the side of Ilunga's head, put him over on his right side by the ropes. He got up. He was on the floor again pretty quick, I'd say. So there were 2 knockdowns within a minute, certainly. And you knew that Ryan was on the wall, and then he got up. He kind of tried to cover up Ilunga. But Liddard just had too much of everything, but then Ilunga was just awful. I don't know whether he was frozen the headlights or he'd never been stopped. I mean, if you look at his record, his 29 wins, he hasn't fought anyone at all. I mean, it really is a completely padded record. Maybe the 2 defeats said more about his ability than the 29 wins. But you can't knock Liddard, 22 years old. This is his 10th win, his 6th stoppage. He's from Billericay in Essex. Good guy, good kid, Seems to live the life, look very, very fit, very cut in there. Showed us some skills, showed some good offensive skills. Just didn't have anything in front of him, and that's not his fault. But he talked afterwards of wanting to step up and have titles. And he's fought some much better men with far less flashy records. In his last fight, he stopped George Davey in 5 rounds. And Davey, I think, had 9 wins, a draw and a defeat or something. I don't think he'd been stopped either. And, he beat a guy called S.A. Smith, who I think was undefeated at the time in about 3 or 4, and has since gone on to win an area title. So, and he's fought some undefeated guys. Andrew Buchanan outpointed him over 6. He was undefeated. I mean, these are reasonable opponents for, domestic level opponents for someone who's up and coming, for someone who's, 22. Was even younger when he faced some of those guys. But that means more. Those 6-round decisions mean far more to his career, the longevity of it, the learning process, than knocking over Omar Ilunga and people like him, because you're not really doing anything in there. You're not showing anything. I mean, in fairness, and I'm not having a go at Liddard at all. He did what he had to do. And he did headline this, a curious sort of show that was on DAZN at the York Hall. And I suppose to be at the York Hall as a headliner, that's another experience for a 22-year-old. That's good. If I was in his team, Liddard, I'd be going the usual routes, area English, domestic level, British, Commonwealth, European world. I mean, 22 years old, you've got so many years on your side. Why hurry? I know he says I want titles. And yes, you can go stale if you progress too quickly. I get that. I absolutely get that. You can make incremental jumps, but they've got to be sensible. There's got to be some logic behind them. And all right, maybe jump to British level now, or fight a British eliminator or something like that. I like what I see. I like what I see with George Liddard. It's just that this was very disappointing. When you looked at the guy's record, Ilunga's record, and you thought, okay, he can take him rounds. Maybe this was scheduled for 10 rounds, so it'd be a good little 10-rounder for George. He can learn things, show us some stuff he's been learning in the gym. But he didn't get a chance to. And I think the most he's been is 6 rounds. So titles, area, maybe. The English titles fought over 10, not 12. but I don't see any hurry. I want to see him in some 10-rounders, some people who are going to take a whack, blink and fire back, and make George show his skills as well as, a little bit of pop in his punches. But I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of his career. He's, seems like a good kid, nice kid. Saw him interviewed afterwards, very confident, as he should be. He's 22 years old. You're headlining at the York Hall. You've got the world at your feet. Must be a lovely feeling. So good luck to him. But what did you think? Did you watch this? It was on DAZN, this card. Card was all right. There were way too many gaps in between the fights. Way too many gaps, long gaps. And there were a couple of early, very early stoppages, not just this one. I don't mean early in the sense that they shouldn't have been stopped. I mean, there were a couple of, there was Shannon Ryan. She stopped the previously undefeated fighter Kate Radomenska of Poland. Stopped her in 3, I think it was. Maisie Rose Courtney came back. Jimmy Sains, he got an early win, a very early win over a previously undefeated guy whose name I can't remember. I think he's from Estonia. That was in the second round. But, I love the York Hall, and sometimes I look at the York Hall shows and I think, I wish I'd been there. I wish I'd bothered going. This one, not so much, really. There wasn't a great deal to it. Not really. But anyway, what did you think? What do you think of George Liddard? How far do you think he's going? How would you bring him along? What steps would you what would be the next step? I want to see a few 10-rounders, a few people who are real tough nuts, who are going to take him those much needed rounds. Let's see what he does skill-wise, if he can put it all together and not just show a bit of power. But let me know what you think. Comments below, and thank you as always for your time. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and also give that subscription button a quick right cross as well. Why not? Build the channel up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the weekend, and bye for now.